Radio. My name is Ryan Brooks, and this is The Sound of Freedom. And, folks, we have a very special guest joining us right now. If you go to his website, NevadaGovernor2014.com, and you click on About this gentleman here, this is what you're going to see. Quote, "Unlike the fraud in the White House, I am a United States citizen with a valid birth certificate, which I will present on demand. My wife and I have 5 children, also U.S. citizens. I graduated from high school in Lincoln County, Nevada. I am an Eagle Scout and a veteran of the Idaho Army National Guard and Artillery. Currently, I'm a licensed professional marriage and family therapist in Las Vegas. I have been a member of Nevada's Constitution Party, the Independent American Party of Nevada, since 2010. I was a candidate for State Assembly in 2010, United States Senate in 2012, and currently Governor of Nevada in 2014. I received 49,000 votes in 2012 in spite of being excluded from the public debates, polls, ignored by the mainstream media, having no campaign organization, and only spending $650. The truth is that my message resonates with real-thinking Americans who found me through the Matrix. Since the last election, my message has gone viral, and now my website, NevadaGovernor2014.com, and YouTube channel, youtube.com/user/David Lory, both dwarf Nevada's current outgoing governor's website and YouTube channel, who has completely failed to provide leadership of any significance. I also have a very popular TV show called Occupy Freedom that will soon be national. People craze listening to what I have to say, and what I am doing for our state, our nation, and our planet. Folks, I am happy to welcome Mr. David Lory VanDerBeek to the show. David, how are you tonight?
Hey,
David,
can you hear me okay?
I can hear you okay. I'm sorry about that. I figured perfect timing for our technical issues to start happening.
So it is what it is, but I appreciate that. I appreciate the introduction, and it's great to be with you. Yep.
All right. Well, hey, let's get down to business, folks. We're running and gunning tonight here. Skype goes down, and he's Johnny on the spot calling into the show live. We're going to be opening up the phone lines a little bit later on, so get ready to call in with your questions for Mr. VanDerBeek. Also, NevadaGovernor2014.com is the website. So really excited to have you on here, David. I want to ask you, being that you're in the Constitutional Party, and I know that Nevada's politics are kind of odd right now, whereas the Ron Paul Republicans, these libertarian types, they've pretty much taken over the Republican Party in Nevada. Where do you stand with the Republican machine that has kind of been co-opted now by some Constitution-loving patriots down there? What's it looking like so far?
Well, they're going to have a battle. My problem with the Republicans is that the Ron Paul Republicans have a God complex. They think that they're stronger than Ron Paul and that they're somehow going to heal this party. The Republican Party at the top is as evil and corrupt as the Democrats. So you will ultimately be compromised, and that's not something I don't want to be owned by anyone. Rand Paul has already shown that. Ron Paul showed that. I mean, they're good people, but you can you can be a good person, and it doesn't matter whether you're good or evil. If you ingest poison, then you will be poisoned. So the Republican Party is going to be it's going to be interesting. I mean, they're having a big debate. The neocon Republicans have made a comeback. They're going to look at taking back the party in next month. They're having debates to get their new chairman. I know Cindy Lake. She's their chairman in Clark County, which is where Las Vegas is. And so they're looking at losing, and I think that'll be a blessing for the Ron Paul Republicans to lose again. I mean, his campaign was gang raped by the Republican Party. We had 16 senators rape that was one of the comments that I made after we had 16 Republican senators vote against the Second Amendment. I commented, 16 Republican senators just raped the Second Amendment. Why are you still Republican?
Right.
So both parties are so corrupt that it wouldn't matter who you voted for. anybody but those two parties would be a vast improvement, because we have it's just a jam. It's just stuck. They're corrupt, and everything you were reading about, I think it was it psychopathic or narcissistic personalities? What was the profile? Yeah, the profile of the psychopath. That's kind of the thing that we're dealing with. I'm a therapist, so I run into these kinds of traits with people. Rarely. Hope those are tough cases, because you can't break through people. But the compulsive lying, that's very interesting. Compulsive liars. It's a very interesting thing to observe in people.
Okay.
It's creepy. It's very creepy to encounter those kinds of behaviors.
Right, and I'll agree with you there. I mean, at this point in time, it's my belief that these psychopaths and sociopaths that are really starting to come out of the woodwork here in this nation, they're attracted to power. So when you're running for governor, you're definitely going to be running into some there, but I commend you for keeping your head, and thanks for that update there. I just think it's very interesting what's going on in Nevada as being one of the states where the Ron Paul folks took over there. We've seen that in Washington to some degree as well. However, have we seen them accomplish anything yet? Not quite, so just something to keep an eye on. David, let me ask you where you stand here on a few of these issues, and then I want to go over some of your recent blog posts, just so if anyone listening does not know who you are, I think this is going to give them a very very vivid picture of who you are. I'm not dealing with a, like you said, someone who kind of sells out or compromises, rather. It sounds like you definitely don't have a problem speaking your mind. David, where do you stand on the Second Amendment?
Well, the Second Amendment is the top priority of the campaign, because, without the Second Amendment, there are no other amendments. There wouldn't be any other freedoms. I believe that freedom comes out of the barrel of a gun, and its fundamental right to life is the right to self-defense. So it's the top priority. It's got, so we're talking about nullifying. As the governor, I can nullify any additional gun regulations. We can make sure that Nevadans can bear any firearms that law enforcement uses, so equal firepower. We can allow counties to have their own armed guards or concealed carry from their faculty. So those are the kinds of important things. We want to have gun manufacturing, ammunition manufacturing moved to Nevada, so we'll create jobs that way too. So. Okay.
And I do see here on your website, as far as the issues, you do mention the firearms and armed guards in schools. You're saying that the citizens of each county will have the power to vote to allow the faculty members of the schools in their district to carry concealed weapons on campus.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Well, you're not going to get an argument from me on that one. I agree with you there wholeheartedly. Now, I also see here something about the Nevada State Bank. What exactly are you talking about here with Nevada State Bank for all the listeners tonight?
Well, you're looking at with state banking. Your state, all state governments have the right to issue currency debt-free. We know that right now the U.S. Treasury does not issue currency. It purchases currency from the private Federal Reserve Bank, which is the U.S. branch of the global banking cartel of central banks throughout the world. And so state banks can counter that by providing their own currency, and we can have a currency which is issued directly by the government at a specific rate, and you can tie it percentage-wise to gold and silver. It would have to be in order to be constitutional, but I'm not, it just has to be at a steady rate. You have to have cash into the system, and it has to go actually into the economy. I believe, Nevada should, the government, should have its own state bank. It should use gold and silver. It should store them to back up, its own currency. But on the other hand, I want to be clear that we're interested in establishing a multi-currency free market system, which means that in the free market, you don't force people to use one currency or another. You let people use whatever currency they want to create. The government, on the other hand, needs to have its own medium of exchange that people can transfer their currencies into and out of. So the government has some stability, and that the market runs free and wild, and which is what it's supposed to do, and that's how it creates so much wealth.
Absolutely, and when folks ask me about the gold standard or solutions to our economic situation, I tell them ultimately the solution is the multi-currency free market systems. The citizens should have the choice to use whatever they deem is valuable as a form of currency. So that is phenomenal to see you out there proudly putting that on your website and talking to others about that. I mean, that's a big step there. One other thing I want to bring up with you here, David, and then we'll get into some of your posts. Nevada.
Let me say one more thing.
Sure, go ahead.
Let me just add two more things. The other thing that your state bank has got to do, it's got to go into all of the bank accounts of all the governments in your state. So whether it's a school district or a court systems have vast amounts of wealth. Drug court systems bring in vast amounts of wealth. Universities, and those are all included on the comprehensive, annual financial reports, the CAFRs, and those can be used by the state bank. And so when your state takes in taxes, what your state bank does is it takes that money and it loans it back into your state economy to your state businesses. And by doing so, then it charges nominal interest, low interest, and it brings in a vast amount of money from sponsoring the free market, and it uses the windfall from that, the profits, to lower taxes. So you can actually eliminate taxes over time through the government properly investing through the state bank. And the other thing that the state's got, it's got all that wealth, those accounts, and those investment income, but it's also got all the land. About almost up to 90% of Nevada's land is controlled by the government, which can be sold, which can be developed, which can be leased back into the free market. So that would work. That would be done through the state bank and controlled that way. Anyway, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I just wanted – those are really important points for people to understand.
Absolutely, not a problem. I mean, I'm scrolling through your website here, and you've got, 56 different issues, and we won't have time to cover all these. I see false flag terrorism, vaccines, fluoride, chemtrails, oversized government, internet privacy, the militarization of local law enforcement, depleted uranium weapons, and neglected veterans. I mean, it sounds like you cover all the bases here. Expulsion of TSA from the airports.
Yeah.
I mean, you sound like the ideal candidate there, David. Great stuff. The one that I was going to bring up, though, and I'm just interested to get your take on this, and I'm sure the listeners are too. You're saying that the state of Nevada is going to stop all payments to the IRS.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that for everybody listening tonight?
Yeah. Yes, sure. I'd love to talk about the IRS. What we know, and these are facts that everyone should look up for themselves, is that the IRS, all the income taxes that are taken in, provides America with no benefit whatsoever. In other words, when in the theory of taxation, you're taxed for some service you're going to receive from government, whether it's a road or a police force or a school. In the case of the IRS, setting aside the controversy, setting aside the facts, whether or not it was ever properly ratified, the amendment for the income tax, setting aside the fact that it's the collection agency for the Federal Reserve, which is the, as I said, it's the branch for the global banking cartel. The IRS provides the American people with no service whatsoever, and so you get nothing back. The IRS taxes are consumed 100% by the government bureaucracy, and that's it. You get nothing back for that. All those now. So what I've said to people, and this was a comment that I made, and it kind of dovetails into the topic of protesting in D.C. and a comment that I've made on the Facebook, is people were saying, we'll come to D.C. and march with us with a gun in D.C. And so I wrote this. I said, people want me to protest. As the next governor of Nevada, I will protest for you in a manner more powerful than taking a gun to D.C. I can go to jail right now for telling you to stop paying taxes to the IRS, which is simply a collection agency for the global banking cartel that has taken over our government. So stop paying taxes to the IRS. The banksters are far, far more destructive than Obama, Congress, or DHS could ever be. That is the mystery of the beast. All the money that strangles the earth I'll sit in jail for you to be free of that as long as it takes as my protest. The IRS has now been exposed as a political tool of oppression, and that it is. Stop
Absolutely.
paying the IRS. Do not give them another dime. The Federal Reserve can and does print all the money the government needs to run. In other words, the taxes do not fund the government. It's money creation that funds the government. They say borrowing. No, it's not It's not simply borrowing. It's money creation. And so if they just created money at a specific rate, which Lincoln tried to do, and he was murdered. That's one of the reasons why Lincoln was murdered. If the government simply issued currency debt-free without collecting taxes at a specific rate, the economy would grow just fine. And it's so difficult for people to understand that our country was founded without an IRS. It was created without an IRS. We didn't have the IRS until 1913 when we got the Federal Reserve System. So we just need to stop paying the IRS, and we just need to dismantle it. And as a governor, what I can do is I can protect everybody from paying to the IRS. They can put me in jail. But that's the risk that they run, because I wouldn't be going to jail because I don't want to pay because I can't pay the taxes or because it's some horrible burden. I'm a professional. I can afford to do it. The reason why I would go isn't because I have some beef with them myself. It's because they are frauds, and I'm here to set the people free. So I think that's more important protest than taking a gun to D.C. at this point. I think it's more powerful and more meaningful. It gets to the root of the matter, because we've got to pull aside the curtain of these little weasels and scumbags, in these power structures that really, they're nothing to be afraid of. They're just cold, scientific, quote-unquote rational psychopaths that are doing this to the whole earth.
Yeah, they're parasites. They don't control us. We empower them with our attention, our work, our labor, our money. And if we just stopped paying attention to them, as easy as that may sound, obviously it's a lot easier said than done. That takes away a lot from them. Without us, they would not exist. And you're making some phenomenal points there. Now, David, we're starting to run up on this top of the hour break, but I do think that's interesting, your view on the IRS. I agree with you completely. They're a fraud. We're seeing right now headlines from the mainstream media about the IRS was targeting conservative groups and Tea Party groups. And I don't know why anyone's getting upset about this, because Bill Clinton did the exact same thing back in the 1990s to people who were raising the exact same issues that you're raising on this broadcast tonight. And, I don't think I'd have to watch the news tonight to tell you that Barry Soetoro came out and lied about, I'm going to get to the bottom of it. Yeah, okay. But I want to ask you this, though, David, just as kind of this last question here. Hopefully we have enough time. I believe with this IRS, I agree with you. It's wrong. It's morally wrong. It's unlawful. It's just completely out of control, ridiculous. However, to stop paying them is a great way to get on the radar and go to jail. Now, not that I'm scared to do that. However, I don't think that the majority or even enough Americans will stop paying their taxes because too many people, they can't even fathom what we just talked about. They can't fathom the fact that the IRS has only been around since 1913 and that their individual income tax goes towards the interest on the debt that the U.S. owes the Federal Reserve for making our money. I don't think that enough people are going to do that. So what would your answer be to, if you're going to do that and go to jail, what good is that if only a couple people are going to do it? You see what I mean?
Well, if that's the nature of our society, then our society will get whatever it deserves.
Fair enough. I try to look at it as, because, I'm pretty sure you guys have it down there in Nevada, too. I've seen them in all kinds of states. The seatbelt laws and the helmet laws and all these stupid nanny state laws. I don't agree with them at all. However, I get sick and tired of getting pulled over and getting $125 tickets. I feel like in the big picture, I just am a good slave. I wear my seatbelt, and I pay the IRS simply for the fact that I know things that can't go on forever won't. Our economy is destined to die. This country is going to face some major pain, some major issues. So I just try to keep that in perspective, and just I wanted to kind of clarify with that, because a lot of people out there who are saying don't pay the IRS. A lot of times it shows that they kind of have a hidden motive. They might not be who we thought they were. So I just want to make sure that you didn't. Go ahead.
Let me put it this way: none of you need to stop paying your taxes. None of you need to do that. So for me, it's an important symbolic gesture. It's an important commitment to the people. It's just one reason why I might do some jail time, and that doesn't bother me. This is just one issue, for
Absolutely.
which a person do jail time. It has to be meaningful. It has to be symbolic, and it has to get enough attention. So I don't know of any governor candidates that have done this. What I'm doing.
Good
so
point.
You have to be. Now I've developed over a period of years as a human being and as a leader to where I can say it like this. I said this. I don't know. I put this message out about the IRS some time ago. I haven't gotten any flack for it. I know that they're picking and choosing. I know that everything that I say is tracked and traced. I've invited that. I want to be scrutinized. There are good people in the government that know that what I'm saying is true, and those people are going to have to jockey with each other and decide what the future of America will look like.
All right, well said. Well, folks, time is flying by. We've already got to the top of the hour break, but when we come back, I want to hear from you. 646-716-7667. 646-716-7667 is the number to dial. We're going to be taking your calls for the remainder of the broadcast. If you're up to it, what questions do you have for Mr. VanDerBeek? He's not backing down. We're going to take the top of the hour break here. We will be back at 7 after, so don't run away. This is the Sound of Freedom on the Orion Talk Radio Network. Orion Talk Radio is conducting a search for full and part-time hosts. If you got a good grasp of the issues at hand, we want to hear from you. Blog Talk hosts, YouTube producers, or just fearless, concerned citizens with honest passions for telling the truth. We want to hear from you. Give it a shot. Send us an email at oriontalkradio@gmail.com. If you want to be a radio host, here's your chance, folks. oriontalkradio@gmail.com. This is the Sound of Freedom live right now. My name is Ryan Brooks, and we have David Lory VanDerBeek joining us. The phone lines are open, 646-716-7667. You can also pose your questions in the chat room at oriontalkradio.com, the Sound of Freedom chat room there, or even at blogtalkradio.com. If you listeners there have some questions, you can type them. If you can't call, we'll bring David back here because I do have a great question from the chat room. Once again, folks, 646-716-7667 if you have a question for the next governor of Nevada, Mr. David Lory VanDerBeek. David, I see a question here. What do you propose to do about Agenda 21 and Monsanto?
Well, I've talked about that. I just, I've stated, I'm on the record, and you can look up my speech. GMO food is slow kill mass murder. So speaking of genetically modified food, that's a two-part question. One is Monsanto. Monsanto is this beast that's been protected by the government now, and we're doing things the opposite of the European Union. The European Union is saying, look, we have enough evidence to withdraw market approval for GMO food, so we must withdraw the approval until the research is done that proves the food is safe. Our government has passed the Monsanto Protection Act, which says that the federal government cannot stop Monsanto from putting its food in the market until the studies are done to prove that it's unsafe. So you see, the opposite is what we've done with Monsanto. We're saying they're protected until the studies are done. So people will be poisoned and used as guinea pigs in this science experiment of Monsanto. I'm going to be marching against them on the 25th with everybody else. And across the country, I'll be doing it in Las Vegas. So that's Monsanto. Agenda 21 is a different piece. Agenda 21 is the piece where you're looking at it's the environmentalism that is actually just communism, which is just taking more of the resources. I'm talking about that. When I talk about returning the land to the free market and to the people, that's the opposite. Agenda 21 is using the guise of environmentalism to remove human activity from the earth, and it's just a totalitarian strategy. So I'm opposed to Agenda 21 and things like smart meters. I want to hedge that a little bit because I like the idea of being energy efficient. I don't like people telling me how much I can spend in the free market. See how I don't want a smart meter that shuts down things when I want to use them.
Right.
You know, but if I have a meter that, you know, that regulates everything in the house perfectly, so that it's the maximum efficiency, that's great. But I think the free market can put that out in a better way than the government. I think that's why I want to have science races. I want to open up Area 51. I don't know what the environmental impact of Area 51 is. You know, the corollary of this is that Obama doesn't give a damn about the environment, but he says he's a liberal environmentalist, you know. Mm-hmm. But then we've got these GMOs that they all support, these loving liberals from the Democrats that's supporting all these GMO foods and saying they're safe when they're destroying the agriculture. So I want to open up Area 51 and have science races for people across the country to come and participate, and let's see what we can come up with that the market can provide. Instead of having a police state provide us with energy efficiency, let's see what the market can do. I think it can do better.
Right, and you know, it's they love to say it's sustainable development, but you and I both know that it's basically neo-feudalism, and it's good to hear you air out your thoughts on that. I want to thank Rika in the chat room for that question. Folks, 646-716-7667 is the number to dial. 646-716-7667 is the number if you have some questions for Mr. VanDerBeek here. And, you know, you made some great points there, David, because in Washington we have this big issue going on. It's a fairly liberal state for the most part, and we're really into the environment and all that stuff. And there's people that don't want any coal exports in this state because they're worried about the air quality. And I just can't stop laughing when I drive by these people who are having rallies downtown and protesting about saving our air, and meanwhile in the sky it looks like a checkerboard above them with chemtrails going every which direction. It just shows how manipulated the people are. And I think genetically modified food is another good example where you hear the same talking points over and over and over again. We wouldn't be able to feed the world without them. You're either going to die from aspartame or sugar, so pick your poison. I don't care. And it's good to hear somebody stepping up and speaking out and not being scared to tell the truth about that. What are your thoughts on chemtrails? I know, to me, I feel like, okay, obviously there's some weather manipulation going on up there. I try not to get upset about it because it's kind of out of my control. But some days when I literally go outside, it's a beautiful blue sky. You see some planes flying around, and the next thing you know, it's this white, milky, cloudy haze for the rest of the day. It's hard not to get upset. What's your take on chemtrails, and is there anything that you can do about it as governor? Is there anything that people can do about it at this point?
Well, the first thing we have to do is just have a mainstream conversation about geoengineering, and that's, you know, what exactly, again, we need full disclosure of the programs themselves. What exactly are the programs? What is terraforming? You know, what is cloud seeding? What is weather modification? What is geoengineering? So we just have to be able to have a conversation about it. I think, you know, the symbolism of the vampire is really important because you just got to bring things out into the light, not let things be done in the dark. And we have all these things that are being done in the dark by our government. And there's lots of research. You know, Al Gore admitted, I think it was on the Ellen Show, that their agenda of spraying things into the atmosphere is real. But that's a little bit different. That's a topic that it hasn't gotten into its own yet. I mean, geoengineering is just something people don't. That's one. You know, we were talking about how people don't fathom the IRS. I think geoengineering is something people fathom even less than that, and the modifications. So I've got to keep it on there. I've got to keep it on there, and I've got to inform people. So look at the information I have. I put up a documentary at NevadaGovernor2014.com. If you go there and you just search geoengineering, I found a documentary that I like, and so I just added it as a post. We want the people to study it, and we want them to learn, and It's called Geoengineering and Chemtrails Documentary. It's the one, What in the World Are They Spraying?
Oh, yeah, and we've had the producers of those documentaries, What in the World and Why in the World Are They Spraying, on Orion Talk Radio. I think we still run ads for them, so the listeners definitely know about that. But if you don't know about it, definitely check it out, folks. What in the world are they spraying, and why in the world are they spraying? Now, I've been giving out the number here, and we have William, who's been patiently waiting. Folks, 646-716-7667 is the number to dial. We have William calling in. William, welcome to the show. What's on your mind tonight?
Wow. For one, I absolutely love David VanDerBeek. I've been trying to, just with the chemtrail, I've been talking with Roseanne Barr and been trying to put something together. No promises, but David VanDerBeek is somebody that people need to have in Nevada. In fact, one of his Senator Dean Heller completely reversed himself and broke his promise, and he's got such comments on his Facebook like from Brooke Lucky. Did you really vote for the advancement of gun control? Have you read the Constitution lately? Shall not be infringed. Do you not understand? I voted for you. I supported you. He advocated that he was going to do everything in his power to not have gun control. And right at the last minute, in a couple paychecks, he reversed himself. She refers to him as no spine. Regardless, he completely scrubbed his website. But posted on David VanDerBeek's Facebook is the video the day after all the comments came in and people chewed them out. They can see those comments on the video that I posted and, what was really there. David, you're phenomenal. You are phenomenal. I feel sad for the world that people actually voted for Barry Soetoro after a couple banker bailouts. It goes to show just people having the intention of doing that is scary. They are sociopaths. People with degrees running for office that compulsively lie are sociopaths. They're horrible. Absolutely love you.
I'm with you. Yeah, you were talking about Dean Heller. Dean Heller is the senator from Nevada. He replaced John Ensign, who left office in disgrace after an affair. So he was replaced by Dean Heller, and so he was reelected. I ran against him. He promoted himself. He's the Republican neocon. He presents himself as the man of the people. Obviously, he's out for himself. And so he's a perfect example of what I'm talking about with the Republican Party. They will not do what's right unless they're forced to by the people. And that's all the more reason to not vote Republican, not be Republican. So everybody should be independent. Everybody should vote independent, vote third party.
Yeah, it's scary that Dean Heller, being Republican at the last minute before ducking out and abandoning his site, he asked everybody why are they Republican? Is that not scary? Is that just not just? Yeah, it's bought out. It's I grew up industry, so I grew up Republican. Over the years, my body became Democrat and then became a constitutionalist, fighting the good fight. And I hope you will be governor. You know this, right?
Yeah, I mean that's a good question because the establishment doesn't know what's going to hit them because they don't see the statistics, so they don't study them. And people need to fathom, that the power. What I'm talking about, Ryan, for example, is people don't fathom how important it is to get internet placement early on. So, for example, to get the domain name Nevada Governor 2014, that's my domain. I own that.
Right.
I also own NV Governor 2014 and other things, other domain names, and they simply missed them. They simply did not get them. So
you were on the ball before they were.
Yeah, that was the reality is that people wait for third parties to disappear in the off years, and I didn't do that. I took all the momentum even though I was suppressed, even though I had no money. See, I didn't do any campaign fundraising for the first 3 years of my campaigning when I ran for state assembly and then I ran for U.S. Senate. I wanted to get really clear about myself. I wanted to learn who I was. I wanted to get to know people and get connected and be really pure. So now that I'm fully unleashed, it's just not something that they're going to be prepared to do. So I took all the momentum, 49,000 people, and it would have been more. Like I said, I think I said this, that I wasn't, my own cousin, he's a lawyer up in Reno, could not vote for me because when he went to the electronic fraud voting machine, my name wasn't even on the ballot. So I would have had a lot more votes. If they'd included me in the debates, I would have had a lot more votes. They didn't include my name on the polls. So they have professional polls, and my name wasn't even on the polls. So this time it's all different because I've got a full campaign. I've got a campaign manager, campaign directors. I didn't have a website. I didn't have a campaign website. All I had was the YouTube channel. And so people don't understand, fathom how many votes I would have gotten if the people had just known that I existed, that, I couldn't, even if they did know I exist, they couldn't vote for me. It's just going to be a different round. I have connections with the FCC now, which will enforce the equal opportunity rule, which is that if your news organization covers one candidate, it has to cover another candidate at the same or equal amount of time at the same time slot.
Right.
So I will be included in the debates this time. I will be in the polls, and the establishment is not aware. Now, here's another bit. If you just Google Nevada Governor 2014, you'll see the problem that they're going to face because I think it's the first 150 results, page after page, just on Google. But another thing is Alexa. You look at Alexa, and you look at Brian Sandoval, the incumbent neocon, his website, briansandoval.com. He's the outgoing governor. And you could compare the stats. Look at the stats. Look at the numbers. I can see the numbers. My U.S. ranking is 135,000th in the U.S. of all websites in the U.S. If you look at Brian Sandoval's, let me look at it. It probably has no ranking. It didn't have a ranking last time in the U.S. because it's so low. It doesn't have a ranking in the U.S.
That's abysmal. I mean, even I have a ranking on Alexa. I mean, come on now. Phenomenal stuff, David, and that's really exciting to hear that. It sounds like you're really getting this momentum and carrying it forward here. I mean, just the campaign trail is just unbelievably crazy. You literally have to start running for office as soon as the elections are over, and I'm happy to see you have that momentum now. I have another caller on the line. William, you're still with us. Just hang tight, buddy. We'll bring you back. But I do have area code 661 on the line. You're live on the air. How are you tonight?
This is Brian. How are you?
I hope so. Brian Lang. Folks, for anyone who doesn't know who Brian Lang is, he's the host of Live Truth right here at Orion Talk Radio. He's one of our new hosts. Check out his show Sunday through Friday. Monday through Friday, it's 4 to 6 Eastern Time. Sundays, 5 to 7 Eastern Time. Phenomenal stuff with Brian Lang here. Brian, thanks for calling in. My friend, what's on your mind tonight?
Well, first, thanks for the shameless plug there. That was great.
Hey, no problem, brother.
Hey, Mr. VanDerBeek, I got to say a couple things real quick before I even ask you a question. First off, my aunt loves you. She has listened and watched everything about you, what you've been saying, and everything else. I mean, she loves you to death. Secondly, if you were a female, I would dress you up in a red, white, and blue dress so I could tear it off you and make you see stars. You know what I mean? You are what the freedom-loving America needs. You know, the words that you speak is what all of America needs to hear. And, you know, whether you're on this radio broadcast, other radio broadcasts, I think you need to get just maybe 4 hours of sleep a night so you can be on all of them so all of America could hear you. You speak truth, you speak freedom, you speak liberty, and, hey, the only problem that I see here is that those powers that be, they won't want you there.
Well, they're not so powerful, you know. They're human beings. What's your aunt's name?
Her name is Brenda.
Okay, hi, Brenda. If you hear this, Brenda, hello. Appreciate your support. So just a shout out to her. But
okay.
the elite go, the elite are not really elite. I mean, they're just human beings that have gotten into positions of power. They protect each other. So we have to challenge them directly. I want them to see they are wicked people, but they've been wicked people in the dark. I want them to come right out. I want them to be committed, fully committed to evil in the light of day, in the sunshine. We all need to be in the sunshine, and we just need to commit to good or evil. So instead of beating around the bush, that's what the Lord wants people to do. He wants them to choose either way. He doesn't want them to be lukewarm. And that's what I want. I want people to have a clear choice, good or evil.
No, God bless you for that, and you're absolutely right. The only thing is that I fear for you. I fear for you because the word that you are putting out there is not radical to those that know what the heck's going on, but it's radical to those people that, well, Mad as Hell, Tim Watts has it on his, where the people that own it they're pretty leery of it. And they will do whatever they want so that they succeed and not you. That's why I fear for you. And I think that all of America should get behind you in that respect, because if you have more people, more Americans behind you, then they will back off and they won't do their dirty deed, their evil deed. But God bless you for everything that you're doing.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I think the interesting thing is that we are actually the silent majority. Here's the thing about you people like yourself and people like me is that we're actual real warriors. Now, we're the warrior class of society. Ryan, we're the warrior class. What the issue is that the people that are taken in by the deception are too weak to oppose it. So they're really not opposition, and they'll worship power, so they'll go wherever the power is. So we're actually a majority, and so if we will rise up, then it becomes obvious who the evil is, and we'll win in any kind of struggle. I mean, weak liberals will never overtake a nation. It just couldn't happen. Communists are not liberals. They're brutal. Fascists are brutal. Socialists are just communists who haven't picked up their guns yet, if they're going to commit to that. And these are brutal people that want to control others. So it takes the warrior class to stand up. And speaking of the warrior class, if you look at Extortion 17 and SEAL Team 6, if you look at Benghazi, that's what I'm covering in the next few weeks, how the warrior class has to see that they have been chumped. And once the warrior class wakes up in the society, they will turn directly on the people in Washington, and they will not serve them anymore. So that's what we're witnessing. We're witnessing the awakening of the warrior class. So the Navy SEALs, for example, that were abandoned. So that in Benghazi, I don't know how much I don't want to, belabor this with your audience, but I mean, we've got to envision this. We've got to envision this. We had 2 Navy SEALs. Okay, this is mind-blowing. This is mind-blowing. You've got Hillary Clinton testifying to Congress that she oversaw the evacuation of 25 to 30 people. Now, you've got Tyrone Woods, who's told to stand down at the CIA compound. Oh, is that the music?
Hold it right there, David. Orion Talk Radio listeners, we're coming right back after this break. Stay with us. Sound of Freedom, Orion Talk Radio.
Free speech guaranteed.
All right, we're going to go into overdrive here, folks. We are still live at blogtalkradio.com just for the sake of conversation. Let's keep it going here, David. We have about 5 minutes or so before we'll be back live on Orion. We still are live for the listeners here at Blog Talk, but go ahead and continue your conversation, and any real big hit points that we missed out, we'll go ahead and just regroup. But go ahead and keep talking there about the Benghazi and Hillary Clinton. Go ahead.
Yes, I want you to fathom this because I don't know if anybody's said it this way yet, the way that I'm saying it. And this is really important. You have a man, Tyrone Woods. He's at the he's there. Okay, this is your warrior class. This is your elite Navy SEALs. Now, he's the only one you know by name. You know Glenn Doherty's name. because they died, but there were others with them. Now, you've got to imagine this. You've dedicated your whole life, your whole career to being a professional warrior. Your whole life, your retirement, the honor of your family, your stake, your life, everything. And what you've got is an order to not save the people you're there to protect, because they can hear the firing at the consulate. So they knew that so imagine that. Imagine being an elite Navy SEAL. Imagine hearing the firing, this group of SEALs, right? And they say, well, we are here to protect life. This is our job. We were going to go. We're going to go. We're just letting you know we're going to go. And they say, no, you can't go. And you know that those are civilian government employees. They're not warriors there. And at the consulate, being attacked. You know that they're being attacked. And then the order comes again, no, you can't go. So you've got to imagine the scene of these Navy SEALs sitting around together and having this conversation. You realize we're going to disobey this order and what that means to our careers, right? That we'll be court-martialed, that we might be thrown out of the military, that we might we'll lose everything. We'll they serve in secret, they serve in silence, and then they would be thrown out of the military with nothing. That's what this conversation goes like. And so Tyrone Woods would have asked them who's going to go and take that risk, and a couple of them did. We know one was wounded, but the ones you don't know that they helped because they lived, because these are special forces, so their identities are not revealed, even when they do die. They shouldn't have been revealed. Excuse me.
Right.
But they went to the consulate and they did the evacuation. So Hillary Clinton goes to Congress and says, yes, we had this evacuation, and the senator's saying, why didn't you talk to those people to ascertain that it was an attack? Those people for which she took credit for saving their lives in that evacuation would have died if the SEALs had followed her orders. Isn't that fascinating that you have this Hillary Clinton going up there taking credit for the evacuation that would never have occurred if her orders had not been disobeyed?
Well, David, I'll tell you, the magnitude of cover-up and disinformation, deception, and lies that we're getting from both sides and the mainstream media about this whole Benghazi situation is just completely abysmal. And let me ask you this while we have time here. I feel like even though we have so many contradictory statements and lies and all this proof, more or less, that we are being lied to on an epic scale once again with what happened in Benghazi, it's my understanding or my belief that I don't think that the American people are going to do anything about it. And I also see the traitorous Republican Party with folks like John Insane McCain and others, Senator Jim Inhofe, spearheading this fake charge to figure out what happened. I think that this is just going to be another example of the American people having the wool pulled over their eyes. What's your thought on that?
I think that they would like to do that. I don't think that the military is going to let them off that easy. I don't think that the moms and the dads of the Navy SEALs, and not just those, but also the other SEAL Team 6, I think they're going to have a mutiny on their hands within the military. And I think all the military families are going to support them in that. I get it. There's a lot of pigs in the American population that don't care about anything but themselves. But there's a lot of good people. And I think it's going to be tough, man. I think it's going to be tough for them to get around this when you let people die. So imagine, you've got to imagine it even more. So
hey, David, just take a quick pause right there. We're going to go back right on with Orion here. We're going to get the bumper music playing. We'll get right back to you, okay?
Okay.
All right. You're listening to the Sound of Freedom live on the Orion Talk Radio Radio Network, 1650 AM, Tonawanda, New York. I'm your host, Ryan Brooks. And folks, Orion Talk Radio wants to hear from you. That's right, you, the listener. Give us a call with your comments and suggestions. New Orion Talk Radio Newsline. The number to dial is 888-272-4434. Tell us what you think, and we might even play your comments on air at Orion Talk Radio. We care about what you think. So call us with your comments on how we're doing and what we can do to better serve you, our loyal Orion listeners. That number again, 888-272-4434. Call it up and let us know how we're doing. Now, I will tell you about how you don't know how to use the phone and you can't call into my show. Save yourself the trouble. The call-in number for the Sound of Freedom is 646-716-7667. It's not an 800 number. It's not a 7-anything number. 646-716-7667. I don't know of any hosts that speak any other languages, so please don't call in other languages. And let's see, what else do we have? If you want to tattletale on hosts and stuff, don't. That's not the number to call. Your comments and suggestions, folks. 888-272-4434. Now, I have Mr. David Lory VanDerBeek joining me. We've got Brian Lang from Live Truth here at Orion Talk Radio, who's been so gracious to hang with us. And we still have William hanging on. William, we'll get back to you. Thank you for holding. David, we were just talking about Benghazi. Let's just kind of recap that very quickly here as far as your thoughts on Benghazi for the Orion listeners. I mean, do you think we're being lied to here? Just quickly give us the breakdown.
Well, yeah, I mean, just what we were talking about is that Hillary Clinton took credit for evacuating people from the consulate that would never have been evacuated and would have died under her leadership if it weren't for the Navy SEALs that disobeyed, put their careers on the line to go rescue those people. Then they went back. Those people are evacuated. Then they go back to the CIA safe house, right?
Right.
The annex, they call it. Now, it makes you wonder, how did the jihadis know where the CIA annex was? Anyway, the SEALs are there. They're under fire. They're asking for air support. They identify the location where the mortars are coming from, and they have a laser on it. They're asking for an F-16 to come in and shoot it with a missile, asking for help, and it never comes. Asking for help, and never comes. So this is a 7-hour battle, and the help never comes. And it's because of Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama that gave the orders. They wanted those people to die. And the thing that they're not covering in the news yet, which is really important, is that those SEALs, their mission was there to recover the 20,000 missiles, the shoulder fire missiles that missiles that went missing under the fall of Gaddafi. Mm-hmm. And what people don't recognize is that our government has been funding and supporting Al-Qaeda, and that those missiles were intended. They want those missiles to go to Al-Qaeda. They want them to be used in Syria now. So that's the problem, is that we're transferring missiles to Al-Qaeda, and our Congress is there debating whether or not we should be helping Al-Qaeda. It's just like, it is kind of a twilight zone that we're in.
Absolutely, and I tell you, you're such a breath of fresh air, a politician, even though you don't really sound like one, who is not scared to stand up and tell the truth, and I greatly appreciate that. I'm going to get you a question from the chat room here, David, and then we'll go back to William and then Brian Lang. Thanks again, guys, for holding. Folks, if you want to call in, you still got a little bit of time. 646-716-7667 is the number to dial. You'll be live on the air. Now, the question in the chat room here at Orion Talk Radio, David, is from Barbara, and she's asking if you have ever heard of the writer Ben Shapiro, who wrote the book Bullies, about the United States political system, and if you have, what do you think about it?
I haven't heard of that book. I've heard of Ben Shapiro, and is he a Second Amendment advocate? I'd have to know more more about the book Bullies. I haven't read it. Sounds like a homework assignment that I probably need to do.
Fair enough. You and me both, my friend. And as I'm fond of saying on my show, the wise man knows how little he knows. I mean, there's just so much stuff going on. It's hard to keep up with that. Barbara, thanks for the question. I'm seeing Joe Axe in the chat room saying that he can't believe that now there's a TV show coming out on the History Channel that says Benghazi was a CIA operation. I mean, come on. I think this is a reason, David, why these powers that shouldn't be are so bold and arrogant and brazen, because they're literally just shoving this anti-individual, anti-constitution, anti-American agenda. They're shoving it down our throats, and the people, for the most part, aren't really doing anything about it, unfortunately. I think that TV show is another example. I'm going to get back to William here. William, I really appreciate you holding and sticking it out with us. What other questions do you have for Mr. VanDerBeek tonight?
Well, I was very interested about how he's going to approach the chemtrail aspect and the geoengineering, the activating of viruses on a wave and using it to recombinantly change a bacteria, interaction with GMO foods, and is he going to go after Monsanto? I'd like to say something real quick. I can't go into my personal history. It's too in depth and too long. But not to give a plug, but people can type in Stillings Mars into Yahoo or YouTube to get an idea of the people that are backing Mr. VanDerBeek. We very much hope to see him as governor. He will be governor, as far as we're concerned. But I was in class. Barry Soetoro was a classmate and didn't start changing his name until 1982 because that's when he started changing his name. But Barry Soetoro is very much the destroy the family car so he doesn't have to put oil in it type person. He's agency. I am agency. I grew up agency. My father worked for Bendix, JPL, Honeywell, Lockheed Skunk Works. I grew up agency company, CIA, DOD, Navy. I'm Navy lieutenant. We're part of the Truth Movement, who is very interested in that have to have David as governor. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's just things that are transpiring. I am the person that wrote about Fukushima 4 years before it happened. I was one of the initial people back in the early 80s that was teleporting for the United States government, for DOD.
William, just in the interest of time, William,
sorry.
It's okay. Just in the interest of time, I mean, if we had 3 hours, we could definitely let you keep going here because I know it gets deep. But as far as, do you want to, is your question about the chemtrails and as far as proposing what David would do, is that the question you're getting to here?
Yeah.
Okay, great. David, go ahead, and then we'll get to Brian Lang. David, are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm right here, yeah. So the first thing that you brought up that's really important is the recombinant properties of all these things, whether it's the chemtrails, the vaccines, the GMO food. You know, these things are approved one at a time by government agencies, if they're approved at all. And then they recombine in the body, like the vaccines, they recombine in the body. So, and the pharmaceutical drugs are approved one at a time, and then they recombine in the body. So the recombinant effect is what you're talking about. So what happens when you have pesticide and DNA fragments? Well, that's one of the things that happened to the rats was that their testicles turned blue. So now you may be a man that wouldn't mind having blue testicles, but I think you ought to at least have a choice to know that you're going to modify your DNA that way before it happens. Now, this brings up a really interesting point, and that is once people know that they can change their own skin color or change their own body features through DNA fragments, it'll be interesting to see what society looks like because I'm sure you look at the people, the tattoo culture, which I'm not against, but you look at the piercing culture. There is a culture of people that do modify their own bodies, and it will be a question in the future as to how far these modifications go when people have the power to do it in a way that isn't life-threatening. So there's all these questions that are raised by science. The other issue that he brought up was the identity of Barack Obama and his illegitimacy, which we need to continue to look at. And his background, people don't know him, where he's from. I as you noted, I commented that I do have a valid birth certificate that is issued by one of the American banks because our birth certificates are banknotes. But I do have a valid birth certificate that shows that I'm an asset of the U.S. corporation government.
Right. Phenomenal stuff. And as far as the tattoo culture and the piercings culture, I used to kind of be into the tattoo culture, and I'm glad I got out of it before I ruined the rest of my body. But I do think you're right, David, just another example of the social engineering here, people making it cool to modify your body. And we see now in places like Spain where you can get your RFID chip tattooed onto or rather placed into your hand. Other things with the tattooed barcode that can get you into a club right away, skip the line. It's cool, it's hip, it's trendy. So, man, you're just blowing me away. Well, once again, it's not too often, folks, you hear somebody who's running for office who's talking about this stuff. What were you saying there?
It's free market. I mean, if people want to modify themselves, I believe in freedom in all choices. So, but the police state aspects of things need to be voluntary. And
right,
we do have a percentage of people who do want to be tracked and traced, and I actually don't mind it to the extent that I want, as I said, I want DHS, FBI, CIA, I want them to know me very well. I have no problem being naked in front of the American people. This has got to be done. But for the average American, their privacy needs to be protected unless they, choose otherwise.
And unfortunately, we live in a time where so many. Well, I've got nothing to hide. I don't mind them tracking me, and that's what we're up against here. But not taking anything away from what you're saying. I agree with you there, David. Now we'll go back to Brian Lang, who's been very patient, holding on there. Brian, thank you again for calling in and staying with us. You've been putting up a lot of talk here. What's going through your head now?
A lot of things went through my head. Can you guys hear this?
We can hear it loud and clear, brother. What's up?
That is the file cabinet opening. That's how I get my birth certificate. Is that damn easy? How is it not that easy for this damn bastard in chief to get his, that's supposedly our President of the United States? So I support you in your thoughts of saying that he is not a natural-born citizen. It is in our Constitution over that. Another thing, I wouldn't be going out there and saying, David, that you don't mind being naked in front of our government, because suspect number 2 in Boston was just that, and he was identified by his aunt and then later on the slab. So, nevertheless, just wanted to put that out there. But David, what is your thoughts on Nevada? What are the major issues in Nevada that relate to the rest of the United States? Yes, Second Amendment, I'm sure. The economy, I'm sure. But what is the main pressing point out there besides getting Harry Reid out of office?
That it's got to be. I think for the average Nevadan, it's got to be economics. It's got to be job creation, wealth creation. The current outgoing governor just celebrated creating 400. I didn't say 4,000. I didn't say 40,000. I said 400 jobs at a call center. And so people are going to sit on their asses as they get fatter and grow around the chairs at a call center where they work in a cubicle. And he created 400 jobs, and that's what he celebrates.
What is the unemployment rate out there?
I wish I wish we had a true unemployment rate. I mean, I hear things like 12, 13%, but then that's not adding in, all the percentage of people that give up.
True. Once you add in that, it's closer to 22, 25%.
Yeah, ours is probably, exactly. I think the true rate is 20, over 20%, 22% for the nation. So we're probably 3 or 4 points above that. And so how do we get to where we create jobs? And I don't think that the government should be creating jobs. I think the government should be giving the resources back to the people so that the free market can create. Because governments don't create wealth. What they do are create the conditions for the borders within which wealth can appear. So government's supposed to set conditions, which is protecting people, protecting markets, and letting them be free. And I know that sounds like a vague answer, but that really is the case. Freedom is a concept which is so foreign to people that they don't believe in it. And people have to be reconverted to the notion of freedom, that you should have your own property, that the government is not responsible for your job, that the government should not be meddling with markets and interest rates, that the market should establish those things, that the market should reward, that we should have a true meritocracy, that the government can and should and must allow bad businesses to fail and let the right people come in and take over those businesses in the free market. So those things that we were talking about earlier, the top issue for me is the economy, and that means the land has to go back to the people, the CAFRs have to be cleaned out, and these financial reports have to be used to fund the government. The bank has to loan the money that's gathered in taxation back into the state for state companies, not foreign companies, not from other states. And every state needs to do that. Charity begins at home. You know, instead of
absolutely.
We haven't talked about illegal immigration at all, but this
when you said borders, I was wanting to bring that up.
Just to give you guys a heads up, we've got about 5 minutes or so, but David, you're free to go ahead and let us know your point on that, because I know in the southern states down there, that's an incredibly huge issue. Go ahead and continue.
Well, here's one for you that you're not aware of, probably, may or may not be, but it will make sense. I was a teacher in high school, and I taught ESL for a period, and our governor, this current governor, again, he wants to give $20 million to education to ESL, and that's English as a second language. So we're motivating illegal immigration. We're motivating the refugees to come over.
Right.
The true liberal question must be, what are we doing to hold their home countries accountable for collapsing into our nation? And I've taught ESL, it's a failure. Why? Because instead we sit and teach them in Spanish. What we should be doing is forcing everybody to learn English and then getting them in mainstream classes.
And that's a great point. I mean, America is one of the only countries besides Somalia that does not have a official language. You're making great points there, David. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, yeah, these kids don't, and then you've got people like flying Mexican flags over the U.S. flag. And we had a veteran here in Reno who cut the flag down over a Mexican business when they had the Mexican flag flying over our flag. I love the Mexican people. I love the Central American people. I love them. También hablo español, you know, and I served as a missionary among them, so in Puerto Rico. So I love them and I'm concerned for them, and that's why I believe we should get out of NAFTA and let them farm for themselves. I think we need to stop shipping arms to their cartels by our government. We need to stop allowing Wall Street to launder the money from the cartels. We need to establish a border. We need to take in these people, understand that they're refugees, and force their governments to be accountable for their collapse. And you know what we did in the past, when Mexico couldn't control its land, we took it over. It's called California. It's called New Mexico, Arizona, Texas. We took the land over, and we had John Fremont and those Californians revolt. And then it's funny because the next year, you know what happened was the California gold rush. So these things come together in their own weird way. We knew what we were getting, and the Mexican government's never been able to manage its territory. The Central American governments are a mess, but we have corruption that from our government that's colluding with that corruption. They're collapsing into our nation, and we need to love those people enough to realize that we need to help them in a way that stops them from coming over here. The true liberal solution is to make their governments take care of them. The true isolationist solution is to actually annex more of their territory to make them stop coming here and give them something to go back to so they stop coming.
Right. And not only that, but also just trying to identify how we can stop encouraging these folks to come over here with all of these different entitlements and things that we give out to them. It's easier in some cases.
Cannot afford it.
Right, illegal immigrants to get benefits than an American citizen. It's just like you said earlier, David, the twilight zone. And folks, this show's just gone by so fast. I want to thank all of you for tuning in. We're shutting her down. William, thanks for calling. Brian Lang, folks, make sure you check out his show Monday through Friday from, let's see here, I always forget it, the Eastern time. 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time, Live Truth, Brian Lang, Monday through Friday. Phenomenal questions from both of you fellas. Thank you. I want to ask you this in closing here, David. What is the best way that the American people can support you, get behind you, help protect you in any way? What can we do to help you?
Well, you can go to the website, NevadaGovernor2014.com. You can sign up for the newsletter. Just spread the word. The most important thing they can do to help me is to be good human beings and uphold the rule of law and constitutional law, and just do that in your local communities. If they want to get in contact with me, it's just David at NevadaGovernor2014.com. The Twitter is U.S. Family Man. The Facebook is David Lory VanDerBeek, and then the YouTube channel is David Lory. So you can support us that way. You can donate at the campaign website if you want to donate. It helps me to be able to travel around and speak more. So, yeah, I appreciate you. I really appreciate the show. It's been a great experience, and I love speaking out the truth. I love hearing from people about the truth.
Definitely. Well, David, hey, thank you so much for coming on. Phenomenal stuff, and I wish you luck. Hopefully we can get you on again, but I know as we get closer to 2014, you're just going to be busier and busier and busier, and I wish you luck with that. Folks, check out his website and see what you can do, NevadaGovernor2014.com, if you believe in David's message. I know a lot of the folks out there know that in my mind, I don't think any politician's going to solve anything, but if you can get to a point where you can educate the people, if you can get to a point where you can help people understand what freedom and liberty is all about, that is the victory in itself. So with that being said, we're out of here. Just remember this, folks. We can end the paradigm built off of debt and death by educating and empowering ourselves to walk away from their paradigm. Don't use their money. Don't fight their wars. Don't listen to their puppets. Just walk away from everything, and they will be no more. I want to thank all of you for tuning in. We're coming right back tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. Remember, NevadaGovernor2014.com is the website for David VanDerBeek. My name is Ryan Brooks. We're out of here. Have a great night, everybody. Bye-bye.